What are we celebrating? No, the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence. That is what we're celebrating today. So that is the thing is, not that many people realize we're going, I can ask 20 people on the street, what are we celebrating? It's the 250th anniversary of what? It was just the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July. Now I'm going to show you some stuff today, and we're going to learn a little bit. Whenever we look at the American flag, we say the Pledge of Allegiance every day. Now I'm going to tell you, how many stars are on the American flag? How many stripes are on the American flag? Okay, the field of stars is called the canton. Now y'all were doing pretty good a while ago. Does it sit on a white stripe or a red stripe? Come on. White? Red. I'm going to show you some different flags today. I'm going to show you some flags today that have more than 50 stars. I'm going to show you some that have less than 50 stars. I'm going to show you some that have more than 13 stripes, less than 13 stripes. Okay? Now, we're also going to look today, whenever we look at it, you said the canton sits on a white stripe. Okay. Now, you said we have 50 stars. How many rows of stars are on the American flag? Now, you look at it every day. Come on, somebody give it to me. 7, 5 rows of 10, 7, 8. There are 9 rows of stars on the American flag. 4 rows of 5, 5 rows of 6. Okay, so now we're going to think, why do we have an American flag? Why do we actually have a flag? I can tell you the reason we have a flag is because if we were at sea, and that was the main reason to have flags, if we were at sea and we didn't have a flag, what were we? A pirate. That is the primary reason we have a flag. We don't want to be labeled a pirate. Now we're going to go back even further. What was the first flag to come to North America? Come on, y'all were doing great a while ago. The first flag to come to North America. Come on. Go back further. The Vikings. The Viking flag. The Vikings were the first flag to come to North America. Now this flag actually flew over a Viking ship. This one did. This actual flag. My wife and I went on a cruise up the Mississippi River. We were on the Viking ship. And I asked the captain if he would fly it for me. So it actually flew over a Viking ship. Okay, they had ravens on their, they used a raven as their symbol. We've all heard the story of Noah and his ark. Well, the Vikings carried ravens that whenever they were they were coast huggers. They tried to stay close to the coast. Okay, occasionally they got blown out to sea. Whenever they were blown out to sea, they were going, which way do we go? Well, they had the raven on the ship. They would release the raven. And if the raven came back, they knew the raven didn't know the direction either. But if he went off in a direction, the raven knew where land was. So that's why the Vikings had ravens. So now I'm going to tell you another story about another flag that it took them 600 years to make this flag. 600 years. Can you imagine that? Well, whenever the Crusaders were coming back from the Crusades to England. They went through Genoa, Italy. Whenever they went through Genoa, Italy, they saw this piece of cloth from a pole. They go, "What's that? What is that?" They said, "That's our flag." They said, "Your flag? What does it represent?" "It represents our country." So they said, "We don't have a flag." So whenever the Crusaders got back to England, they came up with this flag, the Cross of St. George. This flag flew from 1200. It started in 1200 in England as the Cross of St. George. Now should I ask for some help? You think I'd ask for help? No? Okay, we'll let you eat. Well, finally in 1600, well, I need long help. So finally in 1600, Queen Elizabeth I was on the throne of England. They were in a terrible war with Scotland at the time. Queen Elizabeth I she was fighting the war. She was fighting the war so hard that she didn't have time to get married. She died without issue. They had no heirs. They went searching back, who's going to be the next king of England? And all of us have done enough genealogy that you go up your tree and come down and try to find an heir. So that's what they did. The problem is, who was the next in line to become the King of England? King James VI. He was on the throne of Scotland. They're going, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? We're at war with Scotland." So they went to King James and said, "You are next in line to be King of England." King James of Scotland was flying the Cross of St. Andrews. Well, he's flying this cross, the Cross of St. Andrews. He said, I will come and be the King of England if, and only if, we can unite the country. And whenever we unite the country, we want to unite the flag. So he joined with the Cross of St. George and the Cross of St. Andrews, and he came up with the king's colors. Can you see the two crosses there? The Cross of St. George, the Cross of St. Andrews. He joined the country and he became King James I of England. Okay, this is the king's colors. Okay, Queen Anne finally comes up, and she is the Queen of England in 1700. She doesn't want to fly the king's colors. She says, "I'm a queen. I deserve my own flag." So she comes up and she puts the king's colors up in the upper right-hand corner of the flag. And this was the Queen Anne flag, or the flaming meteor. Okay, this was in 1700. So finally we come up. In 1800, Ireland joins the United Kingdom. Whenever Ireland joins, they have the Cross of St. Patrick. Okay, whenever they join England with the Cross of St. Patrick in 1800, England changes the flag the final time. Can you see all three crosses? The Cross of St. Patrick, the Cross of St. Andrews, and the Cross of St. George. This is the current English flag today. It took them 600 years to make this flag. Okay, now we came here to learn about the American flag. Well, what happened? What about the American flag? What was the first flag before we had any states? I can tell you, it was not this. We had a little bit more to do than this. But this one does have a canton in it, doesn't it? It's sort of like the Queen Anne flag. So we came up. A couple of things we had in the United States, and the reason that they were coming to the United States, we had old growth forest. They had totally deforested all of England and all of France. They had deforested all of Europe. So they had no really old growth trees. They needed for the larger ship you needed a taller mast. The United States, well, the colonies at that time, North America at that time, had old growth forest. They came up and they were coming to this country, and they made this as the first New England flag. They put a pine tree on it. So that was one of the primary reasons they came. Another thing that they had was they had rattlesnakes. Okay, so whenever they have rattlesnakes, you've got to remember that a rattlesnake does not really go out and will not really bite you unless it's provoked. And it always warns you before it bites you. And usually it doesn't close its eyes. It sort of goes out with its tongue to sort of smell everything and so forth. So that was something else we had. So coming around, we have different acts that are coming about. We have the Townsend Act, we have the Stamp Act, we have the Tea Act. We have different taxes that are coming. So we're getting ready to start going. We get the Queen Anne flag, and we start putting different sayings on it. We have liberty and union. We're trying to do different things at different times. We're trying to get ready. And we're starting to fight. We're starting to rebel. Well, what was one of the first groups that we had? The Sons of Liberty. They had a flag. The Sons of Liberty flag looked like this. Okay. That they were showing, they had this. But how many of us growing up, did we have our brother, if we did something, would our brother do the same thing? Or would he sort of do something opposite? My brothers always, they were never followers. They went their own way. So I came up, the Brothers of Liberty flag. Can you imagine if we went this way? Can you imagine? Now, I'm sorry, but the stripes on your jacket, can you imagine if they were going the other way? Oh, I'm saying that we couldn't do this to the American flag, even if the Coast Guard does. We can't follow the Coast Guard. Now, another one came up, and this was a privateer flag. Can you imagine if we adopted these colors? I am going, this is just wrong. But I told you about the rattlesnake. Well, they put the rattlesnake on a flag. Whenever they put the rattlesnake on a flag, they would put, "Don't tread on me. Don't do these things. Don't do that." One of the thing that they would do, they believed in the science of regeneration at the time. The science of regeneration was that you cut things up and they would regenerate back together. So whenever they cut up a snake, they would bury it in different holes because they didn't want it to come back together, sort of like a starfish does. So whenever they did that, they went up and they used the Brothers of Liberty flag, and they put join or die. They actually put the different states' names on it, okay? Now the next one, this is a test. Now this is a test. This is a militia flag from the Culpeper Militia. Who was the commander of the Culpeper Militia? It's right there on the flag. Who was it? What's that? No, not Culpeper. No, don't tread on me's not it. What's the other one? Who said that? Patrick Henry. This is the Patrick Henry's Culpeper. He was the commander of the Culpeper militia. Said, "Give me liberty or give me death." I thought y'all were going to at least get 3 or 4 questions. Now the questions are going to get harder. They really are. Finally, on January 2nd, 1776, this is 250 years ago, the Continental Congress had nothing to do with this. This was flown over Prospect Hill for George Washington. They got the Queen Anne flag and they put 6 rebellious stripes on it. All of the commanders out in the harbor of Boston Harbor where they were fighting were going, "What are they doing? What is that?" That's the Queen Anne flag, but it's got stripes on it. They put 6 rebellious stripes. This was the first flag of the colonies that they had. Now, I've shown you red and white stripes and a canton, but I am so thankful they did not go with these. I am going, they had different flags. I'm saying that, boy, they just went crazy with different, whatever fabric they could get, they were making really crazy flags. Finally, on July 4th, 1776, we have the Declaration of Independence. We're finally a country. We are finally a country. We are ready to go. We don't have a flag. What are we going to do? We don't have a flag for 11 months. June 14th, 1777, the Continental Congress finally resolved the flag of the United States will be 13 alternating red and white stripes, 13 white stars on a blue field to represent a new constellation. This was the one we all think of. Hold your applause, I'm not done yet. Everybody's heard the story of Betsy Ross. Betsy Ross might have sewn some of the first flags. Francis Hopkinson, who was the signer of the Declaration of Independence and on the Marine Committee, actually said he designed the first flag. Betsy Ross, we've all heard of Betsy Ross. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. Everybody's heard the story of Betsy Ross. I'm sorry to our man here. It's coming back. Everybody's heard the story of Betsy Ross. She said, "I can make a 5-pointed star with just one snip of the scissors." Now, how many of you can do it? That I'm going to show you that I can do it. I have folded it one time. I'm going to fold it a second time. I have folded it twice. I'm going to fold it a third time. I'm going to fold it a fourth time. There it is, 4 times. I'm going to fold it a 5th time, right here. So here we go. With one snip, just one. Mr. Courageous, who's got the drum roll? We need a drum roll. You ready? Here we come. Here we come. Here we come. A 5-pointed star with one snip of the scissors. Now, we did that, but that wasn't the first one. You've got to remember we were doing the rules of heraldry at the time. A star at that time was 6 or more points. So some of the early flags Benjamin Franklin said, whenever he was saying, they asked him what was the first flag of North America whenever he was over in France. He said, red, white, and blue stripes. Okay, and he had 6-pointed stars, 7-pointed stars, 8-pointed stars. We had all different points on the stars. But he said red, white, and blue stripes. I am glad we didn't go this way. The people down in North Carolina, they came out and they came up with this one. That if you remember, whenever you were in school and you all whispered from one person to the next and it went around the room, we didn't have the greatest publications at the time. So we had all different kinds of stars, all different colors, okay? These others, this was the Simcoe flag. It's close, isn't it? We just mixed it up a little bit. Finally, they came up with this one. They just mixed it up a little bit more, right? These were all Revolutionary War flags. This next one is 6-pointed stars. It begins and ends with a white stripe. It's just, the canton's not quite big enough, I don't think. Now, the next one, they really messed it up. Can you imagine if we went with some of these? Can you imagine what would happen today? Now, the next one, remember, what did I say? 13 alternating red and white stripes. 13 white stars on a blue field to represent a new constellation. This is 100% correct, right? It's right. It's right there. It's perfect. Now, the last one I have. Now, can you see the eastern seaboard on this? 13 stars. Can you see the original 13 colonies? This was done by Schuyler Hamilton. It was Alexander Hamilton's son and General Schuyler's grandson. He wrote the first history of the American flag in 1850, and he said this was the first flag whenever he did it. But I see the original 13 colonies right there. Now, you're ready for your test. This is part of the test. Okay. They had a giant procession on July 4th, 1788. It was the largest parade ever. They had 25,000 people in Philadelphia for this parade. They had 4 horsemen leading the parade. They each carried a flag. They wanted you to remember these. These were the most important things at the time, and they want you to remember them. We should remember them today. Nobody does anymore. They only remember 1, maybe 2. The first flag. Everybody remembers the 4th of July. Okay? They had a liberty pole on it and a liberty cap for it. Okay, now you're ready for the next one. Are you ready for the next one? Nobody remembers this one. The 6th of February, 1778. Can anybody tell me what this date is? It's right there on the flag. Can you tell me what it's French. It's French. It's whenever the French joined the Americans. They joined us in our fight against the British. Okay, the third one is also hard. the 3rd of September, 1783. What is this one? This is really another important date. The Treaty of Paris. I'm glad some of you got it. Now the last one, 17th of September, 1787. The Constitution. Okay, the last one was something else they wanted everyone to remember and everyone to make sure they remembered. Washington, the friend of our country. We wanted you to remember these 4 things. Finally, in 1794, we had 2 more states join. We had Kentucky and we had Vermont. Whenever Kentucky and Vermont joined in 1794, they said, well, we've got to update the flag. So whenever they updated the flag, they came up with this flag, 15 stars and 15 stripes. This is the only official flag that they said that they were going to do. This was the flag that they flew over Fort McHenry during the Battle of 1812. Colonel Amistad was the commander of the fort. If you see the little V down in the bottom, that really was an A, but the little leg fell out of it. This flag at Fort McHenry was 30 by 42 feet. Mary Pickersgill made this flag. She was paid $405.90 for the flag, 30 by 42 feet. $405.90. That's not half of it. The other half was material at the time was only 18 inches. So she had to sew 2 stripes together to make 1 stripe. She was paid $405.90 to make the Star Spangled Banner. You can still see it today at the National History Museum and at the Smithsonian. Now, can you imagine if we kept going that way? What would happen if we added a star and a stripe for every? My wife made this one for me because I said we need to have it so we can understand why in 1818 we added 5 more states. We added Tennessee, Ohio, Illinois, Alabama, and Louisiana. We added 5 more states. At that time, they said in 1818, they said we're going to go back to the original 13 stripes, and we're going to add a new star on the 4th of July after the state joins. So we came up with we have a 20-star flag. But this one, it's really 21 stars, right? Because the stars make a star. So we have this one. This was flying in 1818. Now we're going to go forward a little bit more. And whenever we go forward, we're going to go up until 1846. For all of the native Texans out there, the native Texans. Texas was what number of state? Come on, the native Texans. The native Texan there, native Texan, Texas was the 28th state. So we would have a 28-star flag. Anson Jones took down the Texas flag on February 19th, 1846, and said, Texas is no more. He would have raised this flag, he would have raised a 27-star flag because Texas was a 28th state, but it wasn't till the 4th of July that they would add the 28th star. So this was the 27-star flag. Okay, now Texas, whenever they joined, is the 28th state. Can you show me which star is Texas? It's, of course, the big one. Now we're going to go ahead now a little bit further. Now I've talked to you about the Star Spangled Banner. What is another name for our flag? Old Glory. How did our flag get to be named Old Glory? Well, I'm going to tell you another story. Captain William Driver was a sea captain. Do I need another? Am I ready to go yet? Do I need another? I'm good. Captain William Driver was a sea captain. He got to, his ship was the SS Doggett in Plymouth, up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The ladies of the town presented him with a flag. At the time, it was a 23-star flag. So he got the 23-star flag. He raised it up whenever they presented it to him, and it was a large flag. It was like a 10 by 15 foot flag. And Captain Driver raises it up over the mast, and he goes, "Oh glory, help protect me." Captain Driver sailed around the world several times. He even met the mutineers from the Bounty in the South Pacific. He came back finally, and his wife was having health issues. In 1830, he came back. He retired from the sea. He went to Nashville, Tennessee. Have you been to Nashville? Do you know about the state capitol? The state capitol in Nashville, Tennessee is up on top of the hill. It was finished in 1856. Well, Captain Driver has his flag, and he has it in Nashville. His daughters add more stars to the flag as the new states join. He had one son fight for the North, he had one son fight for the South. He flew the flag 3 times a year. He flew it on George Washington's birthday, the 4th of July, and March 17th. March 17th, you say? That was his birthday. It was a big flag. It's a 10 by 15 foot flag. Everybody knew about Old Glory, and they knew when he would fly it. Well, Captain Driver, whenever the South took over Nashville during the Civil War, Captain Driver knew that they would come looking for his flag as contraband. He carefully folded his flag, and he had it folded up, and he had his daughters sew it real carefully inside the quilt. They came by looking for his flag, looking for Old Glory several times. They never could find it. Finally, whenever the Indiana troops came in and they retook Nashville, they flew this little pitiful 3x5 flag up over the Capitol. The Capitol's a beautiful Capitol. It's up on top of a hill. You can see it all over town. They said, Captain Driver, go home, get Old Glory, fly it over the Capitol." So Captain Driver rushed home, bust open the quilt, out came Old Glory. The next day in all the newspapers, Old Glory flies over Nashville. That is why the American flag is called Old Glory. It was a 34-star flag. It has a sea anchor in the 35th position. It was a 10 by 15 foot flag. So it's a large flag, and they still have it at the Smithsonian, and they flew it over Nashville for the 200th anniversary of Nashville back in 1999, whenever they had it, and they brought it back. Now, I told you I would show you a flag with more than 50 stars. We're going to go ahead now until 1876. We were the centennial. Okay, Colorado had just joined as the 38th state. And 1876. They had a World's Fair. Whenever they had the World's Fair, they said, we want to make a special flag for the centennial. So they came up and made this flag for the centennial. This is a 76-star flag. There is 38 stars in the 1776, 38 stars in the 1876. 38 plus 38 is a 76-star flag. Remember this one in a few minutes. Now in 1912, they finally standardized the flag. They finally said it was the 48-star flag. They finally standardized it to say exactly how the star placement was supposed to be done. Whenever they did that, this is the 48-star flag. This flag went to World War I, World War II, the Korean conflict, and the beginning of the Vietnam conflict. This flag was flown over the United States and flew for our grandfathers and fathers. Whenever this flag was flown, it was also flown over and brought whenever the troops were, whenever our World War II veterans died before 1959, this flag was placed on their caskets. Okay. Finally, we had we had Alaska and Hawaii join. Alaska joined first. We had a 49-star flag. That was a 7x7 for over here. This was 6 rows of 8. The 50-star flag, the July 4th, 1960, we finally raised the 50-star flag. The 50-star flag is the oldest American flag at this time. Before that, it was the World War II flag, the 48-star flag. Before that, it was the 15-star flag. The current American flag is now 66 years old after this one. Now, I showed you the centennial flag, and whenever I was thinking, I was going, for the sesquibicentennial, I ought to create a flag. So I created my flag, but my flag has 100 stars on it. It has 50 stars in the 1776 and 50 stars in the 2026. And I still had some spare time. And I decided, now this was before the ones you see today. I finally went on and decided that I could make to rearrange the 50 stars. This is 50 stars for the 250. You will not see this one anywhere. They have 13 stars in the 250 or something like that. They just put 250 on it, put 13 stars around it. I'm going, these people just, they don't have that much. I want to thank y'all so much for letting me share the thing I love about flags.
John, share with them how they can get their own flag at DC.
What's that?
Share with them how they can get their own flag flown at DC.
Okay. Now, you can write you can, if you want to show it, Will, that you can call your congressman or write him, and you can get a 50-star flag flown over the Capitol. And I only have a few of these left, but I have a few of them left that if you'd really like one, I got 25 flags flown for the 4th of July to commemorate 250th anniversary. It comes with a certificate by the Capitol architect. Yes, sir. What's that?
You have to buy the flag and send it.
You can, you go on and get it flown and you purchase it, and it's about $25 to get it flown.
$25 for a polyester and $35 for a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put your ancestor's name in there, what they did in the
But I've got 4 of them left up here that it's for I'll go on and give them to the new people that just joined if they would like them. I would love to give you the opportunity, but you can also get state flags flown over the Texas Capitol. You can get flags flown over there. And I do that all the time too. So, but I have flown with flags. I've given this flag presentation probably 25 to 30 times this year just so far. We give it again this Thursday. We're giving it to a senior center this coming Thursday. And Wayne and I are doing it for the Girl Scouts in Georgetown on the 7th of September. We're going to give it to them. And we're also going to teach them how to fold the flag and different things on flag etiquette and so forth. But I'll give them the same flag presentation. I want to thank you all so much. I know I've kept you so much that thank you.